What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Trey Codes. As always, my name is Trey Hope, and I'm talking about Flutter packages again. Hope you're not getting tired of me doing that, but today we're going to talk about one that is specific to selecting colors of your choice, and that package is called Flex Color Picker. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate what that looks like right now. So let's go ahead and go over to PUB.DEV so we can get this package. The package name is Flex Color Picker version 2.5.0. Published 3 months ago by RideMike.com and supports no safety, so that's very good. Currently has 228 likes, 130 pub points, and a 95% popularity on PUB.DEV. So this is a good option for what we're trying to do for today. So let's go ahead and jump into the code. As you can see here, let me refresh this so we start fresh. That sounded silly, but you get what I'm saying. So we have this demo page here. We have a simple scaffold that just has a list tile that is showing the option to pick a color, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But something to note here, we have two global variables, one for selected color, which we start with red, and that's just going to be the color that represents whatever color we've picked. And then we have this global variable for constraints, which is the constraints for the color picker. All right, we come down here in the UI, we have this list tile that I said before. It says click the color to open the color picker, and then there's also a method that we get from the color package that says colorTools.materialName. And all that does is it converts a color that we select into a material name. So right now you see that it says red 500. That is based off of the material name for red. Then we have this color indicator widget, which is just this square right here. And the thing to note here is this is what we will click in order to open the dialog to select a color. And inside of this logic, we want to update the selected color to whatever we pick from that color picker dialog, okay? That color picker dialog is just a method that I created down here that is going to return a future of true or false based on what they selected, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and go over the properties of the color picker. I didn't want to discuss anything related to text styling because that's kind of, it's not super relevant to the color picker, so I'll just leave that up to you and save some time here, okay? So for the color picker, we have the first property, which is the selected color. We just pass it into the color parameter, and that's essentially just going to make sure that the selected color is the color of the color picker. Then we have this onColorChanged method right here. What that does is when we actually change the color in the picker, we want to update that selected color variable with the color we picked. And I'll demonstrate that right now. So we open the picker, we select this blue. We now want that selected color to be updated to that color. So now it's blue, okay? Then we have the onColorChangeStart and onColorChangeEnd methods, and those actually get called simultaneously, I noticed. Pretty much when you go to start or to click on a new color, both these methods are called. So I'll demonstrate what that looks like when we select the color. Right now, we're just going to debug print the names of the methods. So it's going to say onColorChangeStart and onColorChangeEnd in the console. So I go in here, I hit orange, and we get the debug statements as expected, okay? Then we have this picker's enabled property. That is going to be this information at the top of the color picker. Right now we have primary and accent. We have these values set to true. So these are the ones that we'll see, the custom and the wheel, right? And we'll see the custom a little bit later. We can't see it right now because we don't have any custom colors selected. But if we were to select true for this black and white, then we would get the black and white option, as you can see right here, okay? We'll keep that true for now. Then we have this enable shades selection property. What that does is if we set it to true, then we get access to shades of colors, okay? Right now we don't have any access to shades, but if we set that to true, all right, now we have options for different shades, all right? Then there's this include index 850. All that does is it gives us an extra gray material color. So when we go to the color picker, we click this gray. Right now we have 10 different shades of gray. But if we set it to true, we'll get an extra gray, which is going to be gray 850. And that is this color right here, all right? So not super important, but just something to note right there. Then we have enableTonalPalette. What that's going to do is give us options for tonal colors, all right? And that is the, let me see, set this to true. So right now we have shades, but now we get tone color, all right? So we'll keep that here down here for us. Then there's a cross-axis alignment property that's related to like spacing. There's padding, column spacing. So those are some UI basic ones, UI related ones. Then we have the enable opacity, all right? So right now it's set to false, so we don't have an option for selecting the opacity of a color. We set that to true. Oops, not true, true. Now we can select the opacity of a color, okay? Cool. Then there's opacity tracking, defaults to 36. That's just the height of the opacity slider. Opacity track width, how thick you want it to be. The radius of the opacity thumbnail. All these are just kind of like styling related things. The next property is action buttons, and these are the buttons that show up in the dialog. So right now we have cancel and OK as our action buttons, and we can change this title. Let's just say nope and yes. If we change those, now we have nope and yes for our options for our color picker. All right, so you can manipulate these however you want. Then we have the property for copy paste behavior. This allows us to select a color and then copy it if we long press it, and I'll show what that looks like right now. So right now, if I long press this color, I can copy or paste it. But if I set that to false, I can no longer long press it, all right? So you can manipulate this to however you want as well. I'll set this back to true. Then we have the selected color icon. This is the icon that we use when we're selecting colors. So right now we have this check mark, but if we were to change it to email, now we have email boxes for our color, all right? But we'll take it back to the checks because that just looks kind of silly. Then we have the width and the height for the color indicator items, spacing for the color indicator items, run spacing for color picker, all UI stuff. So I'm gonna just lay that up to you to mess around with. Next thing we have is this elevation property. This is going to be the elevation of those color items. So right now they're at 4. That's basically this black, kind of like that black shade under the colors. It's set to 4. It needs to be greater than 4. So if we set it to something like 400, you'll see that it adds a very high elevation and it just looks like a black bottomless pit. All right, so we'll take that back to 4. Oops, don't delete it. Take it back to 4. All right. Then we have a hasBorder property. This is going to set a 1 DP border around the color indicator items. Right now that's false. You can't really see the border. We set it to true. Might be hard to see with the naked eye, but there's a slight border around these items now, okay? So keep that in mind. The borderRadius property is going to determine what the border radius is on these color indicator items. If it's null, it's going to be set to the width divided by 4. So it's like just like a round circle. But if we give it the maximum value that it can take, 50, we're essentially just going to have a bunch of circles for our color indicator items now, all right? So that's good to know there. The border color, I'll keep it at all. The border color, this is going to be the color of that border, all right? So we couldn't really see it at first. If I give it a color of black, we'll now see that we have a black border around all those colors. Kind of gives like a cartoon feel, okay? Then we have the wheelDiameter property. So when we come to the wheel selection, this is actually where we can use a wheel to select the color of our choice. Right now that wheel diameter is 190. If we make it the maximum value it can take, like 500, we'll see that we'll have some extra space in between this wheel, all right? So you see how it was kind of tight in the last one? Now if we put it to 500, it's all this white space right here, okay? Let me set that back to 190. We also have the width stroke of the color wheel. It defaults to 16, and that is this wheel right here, or that width right here. If we give it its maximum value of 50, we'll see that we'll get a much thicker wheel this time around, all right? Not the most pretty thing to look at, but just know that you can adjust the width there. Set that back to 16. Then we have wheelSquarePadding. This is going to be the padding that's between the square and the wheel. Right now there's 0, so it's literally touching the square. But if I give it its maximum value of 20, we'll see now that we have that padding that we would like. So we'll keep this at 20. That actually looks pretty good, okay? We have the wheelSquareBorderRadius, and that's going to be the border radius of this square in the wheel. Right now it's at 4, but if we jack it up to 16, we'll see now that we'll get a little bit more rounder of a square, all right? So I'll keep it at 16 too, just because it looks kind of nice. And then there's a wheelHasBorder property. This is going to be the border around the wheel. Okay, right now it's set to true already, so I don't know if you can see it. There's like a slight border around the wheel. If I turn it to false, maybe you can see that the difference a little bit easier. All right, so it's not really, you can't really see a border here. Well, you can't see it because it's not there. All right, but I'll set this back to true. And we got that border around the wheel, okay? Then we have the title property. That's just going to be the title of the color picker. When it's null, by default, there's not going to be a title. But if I go ahead and give it one, let's say Trey's color wheel. All right, now we'll change the title, or the title will be updated to that one that we just specified. All right, we'll keep it. We'll just call it Trey's color picker. Actually, I misspoke. So we'll call this Trey's color picker. All right. Then we have a heading that says select color. That's going to be what we see right here. Select color. We change this to select colors. Then we'll see it says select color. All right. We also have select color shade. Same thing up here. We'll just add some Z's. Select color shades. And now that text is updated to select color shades. Tonal subheading, same thing. Select material 3 color tone. Add a couple Z's. And now we have select material 3 color tone. So all 4 of these are pretty much just titles. Oh, as well as the wheel subheading. I forgot about this. And the recent color subheading. And opacity. All right, let me not get ahead of myself. But just to skip kind of past all that, these are all text related. So I'm just going to add Z's to all these and you'll see the difference reflected right now. All right. Opacities, tones, select colors. The recent colors I'll show in a second, but we have to activate something to see that in its entirety. So moving forward, there's a show material name property, and what that does is it's going to show the material name in the window. All right. So right now it's set to false. We set that to true. We'll now see that when we select the color, we see this deep orange 500, this lime 500, blue 500. These are the material names of the colors that we select. So we set that to true. Then we have show color name. What that's going to do is it's going to show us the name of the color. So it'll give us like a unique color. So we already have show material name to true. This is just going to add that on to that name that we see. So it's going to show material name and then the color name. So lime 500, pear. Orange 500, California. Red 500, red orange. Purple 500, violet eggplant. So you get the picture. This is the color name. This is the material name. Then we have show color code. That's going to be the color code of the color that we select. So with that, we now see this little box right here that's giving us the color code in case we want to copy and paste that and use it for something else. So as I move around, you can see that we have the color code with us now. With the color code has color, let me see. Oops. Right now it's selected to false. When true, the color code entry field uses the currently selected color as its background color. All right, so right now that's selected to false. So as you see, this box right here is just gray. So whenever we're clicking colors, it doesn't change. But if we set this property to true, we'll now see that that box updates to whatever color we select. Okay, so we'll keep that. That was pretty nice. There's a color code prefix style, but that's text style, so I'm not going to get into that. Color code read only. What this does is, by default, when it's true, we let the color code be read only. When it's false, you can actually edit the color code. And you'll edit the color code on the wheel. So right now, okay, so it's false. That means we can change it. So we can do all this stuff, all right? But if it was set to true, then we could no longer edit. Oops, we could no longer edit this now, all right? So we'll keep that false just in case the user wants to add their own flavor to the colors. We have the show color value property, and this is going to show the color value. Right now it's set to false. We set that to true. All right. Let me see. Set to true to show the end color value of the selected color. This is the developer feature. Oh, that's right. Show color value. Okay. So if I set that to true, got it. Okay. So this is the color value right here. All right. Don't really need that, but if you want to know, and like it says right here, this is a developer feature. So really it's for the developers while they're working to see what the color value is. Okay. I'm gonna set that back to false because I don't really, I'll just keep it true, just good. All right. Then we have the show recent colors. So I'm actually going to take off this, I'll keep it on. So for show recent colors, this is going to essentially let us be able to pick recent colors that we've selected. So if I set that to true, false by default. But if I selected to true, yeah, it's kind of taken up. You can see the colors that I'm selecting, they're down there. I want to get rid of this opacity because it's taking up some space. Where was that opacity at? Do a quick search. Opacity. Enable opacity. All right. I'll set the default just to free up some space on the color picker. I'll come back down here. Show recent colors. All right. So now we got some space. As we pick these colors, all right, they show up down here as the recent colors. All right. Whenever I click a new one, it just gets pushed to the front of the list. The old one gets pushed out. All right. Then there's this max recent colors property, and by default it's 5. So as you can see, there were 5 recent colors that were selected, but you can modify that between 2 and 20. So if we set that to 20, we're looking to pick through 20 different colors. All right. I don't even have 20 colors on here. Mind you, the color won't get replaced if it's already in there. All right. It just stays there. It's not going to shift up or anything. It's already in the list, so it wouldn't replace it. All right. Set that back to 5. Okay. The recent colors property, this is going to be the default recent items or recent colors if the user decides to use these. So by default, there's no recent color selected, but if I throw one in there by default, let's say I throw in colors.cyan, by default, that's going to be the first recent color that we have available. All right. So we'll take that out, leave that empty. Then we have the onColorChange, same thing as onColorChangeStart. Whenever we select a recent color, we're going to print out that list of recent colors. So let's see that, because that's what we're doing right here. So I'll show that right now. As we select these colors, first one on the list is this color right here. Now the list has become these 2 colors. Now the list has become these 3 colors, okay? So really just kind of like a developer thing. Or really if you want to do something as they select recent colors, you want to show a dialog or something, you would do it right here, okay? Come on down, enable tooltips. This is set to true. I honestly don't know how to really deal with this property because maybe it's in the emulator, I can't really see the tooltips, but I'm not sure of what tooltips they were actually referring to for this package. So it defaults to true. I guess if it's false, maybe something doesn't pop up, but just know that that's there. Then we have the selected picker type color. This is going to be the color of this at the top. As we switch between, you see how it's this white background for the color. We set that to colors.amber accent. We'll then have this yellow color or the amber accent color as we pick between, okay? Put that back to null. Another text style one, the picker type text style, we'll leave that null because I'm not gonna get into text styles as I mentioned. We have picker type labels, and these are going to be the labels that we see right here. We have wheel, black and white. It's all of these, right? But you can change the name of them, all right? So instead of wheel, if we want to put Wheel of Fortune, I don't know, Wheel of Fortune. All right, so that wheel property is now going to say Wheel of Fortune. So if you want to modify these titles, you can, and just map them to whatever the actual property is. So for accent, you would change it to whatever, black and white, change it to whatever, okay? Go back to wheel. All right, and finally, last but not least, is the custom color swatches and names. All right, so what that does is when you enable colors for this, you now have a custom colors column that you can select from. Right now, we don't see it because we don't have any of the custom colors enabled, but let's uncomment all these. All right, which is essentially just a map, okay? And now we have these default custom colors, these 7 right here. So if I go in now, if I go to the custom selection, I will see that I have this purple right here, that purple, that teal variant, this is the maroon looking color, that pink, and then that dark, that navy, whatever it is, okay? And that That is how you would add like custom colors if you want them to, I don't know. You got colors for your logo on your app and you want these to be the default colors that show up in the custom section, you would do that right here, okay? Now, all of that is on the color picker. Once we're done with customizing that, we just append this showPicker dialog method to the end of it, passing those constraints that I mentioned at the very top for the constraints of the dialog. And there you have it. You have your color picker. So as you can see from this demonstration, it's very vast. There's a lot of different things you can do to configure the color picker to your liking. Just keep in mind that you don't want to overcomplicate things, because essentially the goal of the color picker is to make it very simple for users to pick which colors they want to use for whatever reason in your app. So this is essentially how you use this package. I haven't used it for anything in my app specifically, but when I find that purpose, I definitely will be using it, all right? So as always, if this video was helpful for you, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on the Flex Color Picker package. And as always, until next time, have a great day, and I'll see you later. Peace.